Today we're going to be talking about this pen, Magna Carta. This is the Elements Earth. Now, to me, when I look at this, I see a brown pen, but on cameras it seems to come across as a bit redder than it is. I've had this on Instagram. I was checking out the website of the company. Magna Carta is an Indian pen maker, and on their website it also looks red. Yeah, it really looks like a warm reddish brown to me, but I would not call it a red. So anyway, I just want to point that out before we start. Now, Magna Carta sent me this pen, which I really appreciate. I've had Magna Carta on my radar for quite a while, to be honest. I wanted to review one of the pens, just never got around to it. And now I have one. So I'm going to review the pen. I'm going to cover the parts of the pen. I'll do a writing sample. I'll tell you what I like about it and what I don't like about it. Let's get started. Okay, the Magna Carta Elements Earth. This is an Indian fountain pen company, Magna Carta. The pen came in this box. It has a little Magna Carta warranty card, and I quite like this box. This looks like plexiglass, which I thought was a really cool touch, because I mean, boxes like this are not, with a little lid like that, are quite ubiquitous, but I don't believe I've ever seen plexiglass like this. Okay, then we have a little plastic sheath to put the pen in, etc. Now let's have a look at the pen. So here we have the pen. I'm going to zoom in, and then here we have a Pilot Metropolitan. As you can see, the Magna Carta Elements is not a small pen. It is made of precious resin. It has a PVD 24 karat gold plating, a stainless steel nib, and it has, very interesting, a pneumatic filler, which means that this part, this is a blind cap. So I have to be very careful because there's ink in this. You can pull this out. This comes out all the way. Okay, then you put the section in a bottle of ink. You see there's a hole in there. You put your finger on the hole. You push that mechanism down. That compresses a sac in the pen, and then as that sac decompresses, it sucks up ink. Again, there's ink in there, so I have to be a little careful. And then after that, you wipe down the section, the nib, you put the blind cap back on, and you're in business, and you can write. Okay, let's talk about the parts of this pen. Top of the cap is flat. I kind of like the flatness on both ends of this pen. It's not quite a flat top in my mind, simply because this tapers. When I think of a flat top, I always think of something that's just cut straight, but that's just me. So we have that same material as the rest of the cap. I think that's always very attractive, that this is not just black or some other dull color. It's the same material, which is really quite nice. A nice clip. This clip is quite stiff, but it is not so stiff that it's unusable, so that's good. We have two rings, and those rings are flush with the cap. It's quality pen making. On cheaper pens, you'd often find one of those rings to stick out a bit. It's not like that, and they don't rotate either. So again, a well-made piece. We have the pen that bulges out a little bit and then tapers down, so it's a little bit barrel-shaped. Here we have another ring, and then we have that blind cap I've shown you, and then the filling mechanism. I'm not going to pull this out entirely because there's ink in the pen, and I don't want to spill ink everywhere. Okay, the cap comes off. We have quite a couple of threads. I'll come back to that in likes and dislikes. And we have a simple section that starts wide, tapers down. We have a steel nib with, again, gold plating. We have the Magna Carta logo on it, and this happens to be a broad nib. I was not able to tell with certainty if this is an ebonite or a plastic feed. I have the feeling it's an ebonite feed, for the simple reason that I can scratch it a little bit. But anyway, I could be wrong. It's not always easy to tell the difference. A lot of Indian pens do have ebonite feeds though. So anyway, there is that. Why don't we see how the pen writes? Okay, I'll zoom out a little bit. Here we have the Magna Carta Elements Earth broad nib, and the ink is obviously the one and only B.R.E. Brown. Now, I have found that I'm now using a little bit less pressure. If I use no pressure in writing at all, the nib is on the dry side. You see that here, for example. So I have to use a little bit of pressure as I write. This is probably a nib that I would end up making a little bit wetter for myself, but I wanted to show you what it looked like out of the box. A bit of fast writing, and I'll do that again with a bit of pressure, and then no pressure, and you definitely see it is drier without that pressure, right? It's not a flex nib, I'm just saying probably the nib slit is a little bit tight on this pen. Okay, so this would be wetness with no pressure, and this would be wetness with a bit of pressure. That's what I would like to have it for me personally, but people differ. It definitely writes, it's just on the dry end of the spectrum. Okay, the nib, to me as a broad nib, it seemed to be ever so stubby, which I personally quite like. Many broad nibs have that property, but just take that into account. Okay, as to line variation, again, it's not a flex nib, but very carefully you can apply a little bit of pressure and get a bit of line variation out. Okay, what about reverse writing? It's possible the pen keeps writing and you definitely get a finer line. The final thing that I probably should have said is, what about posting? If you really want to, the pen does post. It gets quite big and the cap, like it flops around a bit. It's really quite a big pen, so I don't know if you really need to have this posted to use it. Anyway, that's it for parts and writing. Why don't we talk about what I like and what I don't like about this pen. What do I like and what do I not like about the Magna Carta Elements Earth? For me, there is quite a lot to like. I find the pen attractive. I find it a nicely made pen. I enjoy the fact that it is a slightly bigger pen. It is not obscenely oversized. It's just a little bigger. A cool filling system with the pneumatic filler. That is really quite neat. I like that. The nib is smooth. I find it on the dry side. It is quite dry. You have to add a little bit of pressure to make it write the way I would like it to write. Fortunately, making a nib wetter is not very difficult. So that is something that you can do, or you can have a nibmeister do it. But anyway, I find the pen reasonably priced at $160. It's a steel nib, but it's also a pneumatic filler, which is not your standard. Here's an acrylic cartridge converter pen with a steel nib, of which there are many different versions, right? So I like that. Overall, I like the attention to detail a lot on this pen. It's well made. For example, these rings on the cap, they really are flush with the cap, and so the craftsmanship is proper, and that's something I really enjoy. I think it's beautiful. Again, nice filling system. I like all those things. I found the writing experience to be really quite pleasant. I would probably end up making it a little bit wetter for myself, but I wanted to show the nib as is out of the box in the review. I like it a lot. One thing I will mention that I've seen a couple times is that these threads, and now of course, yeah, there we go, they can cross thread, and then you can get kind of stuck. It's a little hard to do on camera, but a couple of times I tried to cap it, and I really get stuck for a bit and would have to open it up and undo it again. In those cases, I always just turn it, it closes clockwise, so I just always turn it counterclockwise so the threads kind of catch, and then I close it, and I never have issues. Just wanted to point that out in case you do have such issues. To me, it's not a massive issue. It's definitely not something that I have every time I cap the pen, so I have not found it bothersome. I just wanted to point it out that it can happen, and especially when I give this pen to someone else to try out, I've seen that a lot of people initially fiddle a bit with cross-threading. You can learn to live with it or not. If not, maybe don't buy it. That's some free advice. Okay, a very kind thank you to Magna Carta. I really appreciate you sending me the pen. I hope this was useful, and I'll gladly see you later. Bye-bye.